Hola a todos. Hello everyone. I am Giovanni Spinal from Medellin, Colombia. Today we have two guests from Europe, Jens and Adam. Jens, do you want to introduce yourself again?
Hello, my name is Jens. Working as game developer and game designer for Eco. Mostly afflicted with calculations and dealing with game balance and general design.
Nice. And what about you, Adam?
Yeah, I'm Adam. I'm the web developer for uh, Strange Loop Games. I mainly work on the website, the Twitch plugin, as you'll see, and election website for the server too.
Okay, that's nice. Thanks, Jens and Adam. So we are going to talk to them in a moment, but first, as always, a small recap. We are going to have streams every week to talk about some features and answer the questions you may have. We are also always open to feedback from the community, so let us know what you think. Today's feature, the Twitch election plugin, is a work in progress, so it may have some modifications before it becomes available. We may also have some small technical issues, but yeah, they may happen on a work in progress. So for the last streams, we got feedback for the economy viewer and the blocking system. So today we would appreciate if again you take the time to participate on the survey. So on the top of the screen share, you will see a link so you can give us feedback for the features that we are going to talk today. I mean, we are going to have feedback for Civics and the Twitch plugin, but if you only have feedback for one of them, just fill part of the form and submit it. It'll be okay like that, of course. So, okay, the stream is going to be divided into parts. We are going to have the civics, the look into civics by Jens, and then we will check the Twitch feature by Adam. So okay, let's start with Jens. Jens, what do you have to tell us about civics?
Well, we've gone over civics in our streams up to 9, where we had a fundamental change in how you kind of interacted with them and playing with them in game rather than through the web browser primarily. So I'll go through a quick sort of preview into how you set up a constitution and add a law, add and change how an election process is handled, and as we have sort of our default blank that works towards the active demographic, but we're going to change that out to make sure that it's everyone on the server and not just the active demographic that's used. I think we can dive straight into it, and also how that kind of deals and changes with your potential streamer audience in regards to the Twitch plugin. So first off, we have your basic capital, and this is using the legacy system. So this is something that any old player is going to recognize and be familiar with, as we're still working on the settlement features. So those will be sort of showed off in another stream. And you have your capital, which is crafted through the carpentry table. And this is where you create your basic constitution. So when you first place this down, you'll have the constitution, and it'll pop up as a draft that is not currently active, unless you already have a constitution on the server and you're trying to create a new one or replace it. And this contains a couple of altered behaviors where we've bundled all of the different civic abilities into one wholesome coverage, instead of having 8 different articles individually for the basic setup, making it a bit more legible and hopefully a bit more easy to approach in this regard. And to start your draft, you're going to need to hit the start the ratification election. And this will give you a pop-up saying draft an election to ratify it. Once this process is started, you can also start adding different articles to it or change different variations of properties of this constitution. So we start this and ignore the achievements; those are not ready either. they'll come up every now and then in the background at the moment. So now we have ratification started, and if we want to do any adjustments to this, we've got you can choose your demographics that are allowed to propose different articles or laws or changes to it. And then you have the election process, which is how it handles the election once it's running. Who can vote on it, who can veto and cancel the election, how to handle ties, and all these different types of variations, as well as these different Twitch interactions, as you can see. And to change any of that, you're going to have to craft, which currently is still in the capital for the legacy system, but these will be in a different crafting table for the settlement features. You're going to need a board of elections, and you're going to have to have a room that can contain it. And I'm still looking into how and where we want to be introducing these objects, and in certain volume and space requirements from the balance perspective, because we do want to introduce these fairly early on, but still kind of have a requirement for a town hall or a settlement. So once you have one of these placed, you've got 3 slots as for any civic object. You start a draft process, and this gives you a rough copy. And so this starts off with the blank basic presets, which is what it's using for the basic election process. This has the voters as active, and we wanted to change this to everyone. Vetoers, will leave it blank. And then you can select and choose how to proceed if the election ends up in a tie, where you can select a random candidate, or simply no winner at all, or incumbent priority, which means if you have someone that's holding a title, an elected title, for instance, where the already sitting person would be the preferable choice if it ends up in a tie, or the non-incumbent, which would be the opposite, where you might want to force someone to only have a certain amount of you'd rather have a new person than the previous sitting one. We'll leave that as random candidates, and then we'll kind of leave most of these as blank. You can change these out and set these to whatever you really want for a specific type of election type. We can select anonymous voting. This is not default for the basic one. If you look into the election, you will be able to see who voted what. But this is something that is selectable. And then you have for our Twitch interactions, which Adam will come in on after I've sort of gone through and posted this. You can also select what type of weight attribution to those votes Twitch subscribers or non-subscribers have in impact-wise. We'll leave these as blank.
Jens, I'm sorry that I interrupt you for a second. So these last parameters that we have are actually some of the related to some of the questions we already have on the chat. So as you can see, and we will talk a little bit more about this once Adam is joining us, telling more about the Twitch feature. But as you can see right now, we can decide if the feature is enabled, and if it is enabled, we can decide what is the weight of the vote that the Twitch subscriber would have. So it should be possible to keep a balance for that. As I mentioned, we're going to talk more about this balance for the Twitch feature later, but as you can see right now on Jen's explanation, there are some of the parameters that we can control. Yeah, go ahead, Jen. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah. So now that we've changed the parameter we wanted to change, we wanted to make sure that everyone has a say in anything that's being proposed here. We'll add this process and we'll include that inside the Ratify Constitution. Now this will allow us to bundle it into the same election. And this is something that we included and was added in 9.3, I think, but We kind of wanted to go over this process because it has been something that a lot of people aren't really aware of is possible, that you can change out a lot of your constitution and how you want to vote for it, or how you kind of want to deal with the whole election and post-election results. From the start, you don't need to create a constitution, vote for the constitution, and then start doing edits after that, which would prolong, depending on how long your voting process and how active your population is on the server, could take up to 24 hours as the default election timer, which would then add another 24 hours to do any changes. So we kind of have that bundle option to cut down that election timer to make sure that you can kind of combine these different election types and get anything that you want in through that first bulk election. And this can be included to extend, zoning rights, districts, any other of the civic articles that you can add. So now we have our election process. We can already tweak this inside the constitution draft that we made. So in this case, we have everyone may propose an election of a basic election, but we could change this out to have to only allow active to vote on something that contains the basic election. And then we can add another article, just copy and sort of duplicate the variables that's used here. But if everyone is a proposer for it, then we can use this new election process. And this is something that you can just outright replace here, but I wanted to keep the old one to be, if you're voting on something with as active, only the active people gets to vote on it, versus if everyone in general that may not be active, then everyone has a say in it to make sure that you're sort of wholesomely including everyone on the server. Now, the trick with this is that it will include everyone, which means this also includes your non-active players, and the total vote count will include anyone that's connected to the server. So if your active community exceeds the volume of non-active players, then you might sort of end up in a limbo situation where you can't get laws to pass because you don't have enough people voting on it based on the amount of minimum percentage eligible voters. Since this is set as a default to 51% of the total valid voters in this. So we want to also include a law in this, and this would require you to place a court, which is currently, as everyone is aware that has been tinkering with laws, is quite a big object. We have cut this down in size in upcoming iterations, so these objects will be individually placed and you won't need the entire behemoth of the object in one go, so to speak. You can space these out or kind of fit them in however you want in a room. And go into an active law slot, we'll draft a law. And for this particular one, I know this is something that people have been wanting, which we snuck in as a new auth action as well. So that'll hopefully be something that people will enjoy. So we want to do let's do construct or deconstruct. And we just want to prevent construction. And now I could do another type of parameter value here. So I could limit this to if you have a residence or if you don't have a residence. And sort of extend this out to whatever kind of requirements or inclusion you want, if it's in a district or if it's a certain demographic, if you have a certain skill set. And then we can do something like change reputation, pay, tax, prevent, ignore auth, and do all kinds of fun things with any number of combinations here, and I know people are daunted by this, and I strongly recommend people to sort of poke at it and see what it's about, just to test it. It is a bit complex because it is essentially programming, if you will, where you're telling the system how it's supposed to behave. And we're working on simplifying it as much as we can. So any opinions and any adjustments or preferences that people may have, feel free to post them as well, because we do love input on this, and try to improve it as much as we can as we go. So in this case, we're just outright preventing construction. We'll rename it to construction prevention, just so we know what we're dealing with and what it's doing. And then we include this law as well in here. And we now attached it to the Constitution draft. And say we're quite happy with this now. We have this under wraps. We've got the election process. We've adjusted the election process for this. We've added and included a law. And you want to start the Constitution election. Now, here is where it gets tricky, but it really doesn't. Let me just do... So in here, we don't really have a clear way of how to start an election. But as soon as you hit a draft and you start creating it, this is tied to you personally. And this is something that we changed and added in a way for to avoid having multiple people starting drafts and kind of editing the same version and adding different laws, or adding different election processes, and you would have conflicting interest in you were creating a certain draft for what you envisioned, and then someone else were adding random articles to your current active draft. So these are individual, and these start up in the election tab. So this is where you have any essential election happening, anything that you are eligible to vote on, notifications regarding changes to civics, and just general process of elections. So this is where you actually start the draft once you have it, and you can mouse over the draft to get a tooltip of what's included in it, just to have an idea on what you're actually adding. If you're unhappy with it, you can cancel the draft and it'll just blank it out and remove all the articles from it. So yeah, we're happy with this, and we can start it, and it starts the voting. And I think this is where I pass it over to Adam.
Before that, we are about to go with Adam, but Jens, would you mind answer a couple of questions first? So I just wrote it on the on the Discord chat just in case, but yeah, here comes the first one. The first one was already answered, but I'm going to read it again because maybe not everyone was aware of the question. So first question, will we get the ability to import laws?
It is something that we're looking at natively, because it is an essential part of being able to craft more intricate and sophisticated laws. So it is something that we're looking at.
Okay, it's nice. Next question. What are the new gameplay possibilities when you mount an object?
You can do pretty much the same thing as you can do with any other laws. In general, right now I don't have, since the law is in action, I can't open it up and showcase it, but essentially you could prevent people from mounting a vehicle, and yeah, so you could tie certain vehicles to certain professions through laws, or vice versa.
Nice.
And or add any kind of tax payment or debit usage through that.
I thank you. The last question that we have related to this first Civics is it possible to add a permanent law auto, or I'm sorry, a perm law auto to cancel modify others people work orders on a workstation? Is the question number 10, just in case.
No, you can't retroactively prevent a work order to be used once it's crafted or once it's placed. It is an interesting prospect to look into, because we're as it is right now, we're not preventing someone to actually use or add resources to a work order in order to craft items, because we're not blocking the item crafting in itself. We're blocking the work order creation. So retroactively, it's tricky to do that. But it is an interesting idea, and something that I can probably look into, but I don't think it will be anything that we're changing for 10.
Okay, thank you, Jens. Would you mind to remind people the last thing you did, the logic that you just created before we go to Adam?
Yeah, so the law is simply to using the event construct or deconstruct, and then specifying if you're trying to construct, it'll prevent someone from doing it. So this is preventing anyone or everyone to from being able to build anything in the world, essentially.
Okay, that's nice. So now let's go with Adam. We should be able to see his screen now. Thank you again, Jens. So Adam, you can start now.
Awesome. Right, so this is the extension. It will allow you to interact with it in a few ways. The main aim of it is to interact with it with elections. So as you see, the election that was just created has appeared here. So you can click it. If there was a description added, it will be displayed there. And it also gives you the time remaining, so you know if you can vote on it, or if not, it won't. If it's ended, it won't be there anymore. So what will happen is you can click vote, and you can vote on these type of things here, so yes or no, depending on what the vote is. If it's a multi-choice vote, so there's multiple options, it will have all of them on there rather than just the yes and no. So it will look slightly different. So what happens is if I click, I'll just say no, for instance, it will tell me I voted no. Oh, there's the first bug. It should tell you that a Twitch user has voted here, but for some reason it hasn't. I'm not sure why. But as it says that I have voted no. And some people have some questions regarding the elections, which I can go through. So different weights for subs or non-subs. We haven't thought about that, I don't think, or have we? I think it's dependent on the configured inside in the time how you've configured it in the options that you saw earlier. So that was how that's done, I believe. And can you vote as a sub for multiple streamers? So how the voting works is it's per user, not per user for each stream. So you can have multiple streamers in the server that have it activated, but your vote will be across all of them rather than each streamer. If that makes sense, hopefully it does. Some other questions you had regarding this one, and then I can move over to the other tabs.
Oh yeah, we have a couple of questions now that you mentioned before we go to the other tab. So let me read you some of the questions, just in case. Adam, I'm going to read the ones on the document. So yep. The first one is the different weight for subscribers and non-subscribers.
Yeah, sorry, I went through that one just a moment ago.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. So the weights are configured depending on how you set it up at the time of creation. So you can adjust the weights to how you would prefer them to be.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I read a repeated question. So, um, does Twitch vote count raw total voters each streamer gets share?
So how this works is it's combined across all the streamers. So it's not a like a raw total. Sorry, the question was count as a raw total voters or each streamer gets a share. Yeah. So all the combined votes of everyone across the board. It's not just I can't go to someone else and get another streamer and vote for the same option and it counts as 2 votes from me. It's just 1 vote across all streamers for that server.
Yeah, just to clarify, as you may imagine, there may be multiple streamers for the same server, so that's why this question. Okay, next question: will Twitch voting let us order our bots like on the website, like I bought Geo number 1, Ice Fortune number 2?
No. So the only options you get as a Twitch viewer is you vote on one thing. So as you saw on this one, it was yes or no. If it's a multi-choice one, you can get elections for candidates, but you only get 1 vote. You don't get the drag and drop options like you do in the election website.
Okay, I get it. So the next question: do the Twitch subscriber actions tie into one Twitch channel or multiple? It's like the question number 8, just in case.
I think that was similar to the question before.
Yeah.
So you can have like 5 or 6 streamers on one server, but your vote will only count once. And it doesn't matter what streamer you put it on.
Yeah. Sorry, the notice that it was the. I mean, it's different question, but same concept. Okay, we have another. Will streamers be able to add their OBS frame with the current election status? And how will they get the link or that for that?
Let me see if I can understand that question. So we an OBS overlay, I believe that question's for. So this one is a Twitch extension. So this will go below the streamer's video. We are also thinking about having it as a video overlay as well. But that will need some more work into it, and that'll be a future idea, or maybe when it's live.
Okay, nice. Remember everyone that we have a link on the top of the streaming, so feel free to go to that link and give us feedback on what would you like to see on this Twitch plugin that we are working on. As you may know, not everything is possible, as all the implementation that we do are then reviewed by Twitch, and some modifications may not be possible. But we are really happy to work on a feature that allows the community to participate more. Remember that you can also deactivate this feature if you don't think it's a good idea for your server. Remember that you can reduce the wait for the Twitch votes, and you can also limit the amount of votes that you get from Twitch. So yeah, we are really happy about this feature, but we are really open to feedback. Let us know what you think. Jens, I'm sorry, Adam, would you mind going to the other tabs while I check the other questions? Thank you.
So the other tab is, I'll go for the info one first. So this is an overall piece of information for the server. So it'll tell you what the name of the server is that your streamer is playing on. And it gives you some stats as well. So it'll say how many days have passed since they've launched the server, how many players are online at the time as well. This should all automatically update it too. So there's no need to refresh the page or the extension every time. Every time the extension gets updates, it will refresh automatically for you. It'll also tell you how many total players are on the server, as well as the current ones that are online. And if the meteor is enabled, then it will tell you the impact date of the meteor. And then below that, it will give you more information depending on the actual features. So if Twitch chat can actually join the server, then it will tell you, and it will tell you whether you need to be a subscriber or not. And And then this launch button here will actually launch the game for you and connect you. But this will only show if the streamer, if the server allows viewers to join or subs. So depending on what type it is, if you have to be a subscriber to join the server, it will only show the launch button for subscribers. And it will also tell you if the meteor is enabled or disabled, as well as the server details below it as well there. That's just an overview of the actual server information. And then the third tab we have here is regarding graphs. So this will allow you to look at stats for the server. So if you want to look at how many certain species are left, you can actually go through this and have a look and find out how many they've got or how many they've killed off, for instance, and it will change automatically for you. There's no need to refresh the thing. So some of these stats won't show much because it's a fresh server, but it's nice and easy to look at the overall stats for the server. So you don't have to ask the streamer or anything, you can go and look yourself.
Yeah, we are also open to feedback about these graphs. So if you have an idea of what you like to see there and is not possible to see right now, let us know and we can check if it is something possible to do there. I'm sorry for the interruption again, Adam. There is a question that says, how do you prevent players from voting bot in-game and on Twitch? And the answer for that is that we don't have a way to prevent that on the current version. So a person would be able to vote twice as a player and as a Twitch subscriber. I'm sorry. If you think it is important that we prevent that, let us know, and we can check if it is possible to validate. But as you can imagine, it's complicated because you can have your personal Twitch account and your player account, and they are not connected in any way. So it's really complicated to prevent. I would say that it's impossible to prevent. To be honest, we need to look into that, but I think it's impossible to prevent that. And the second question is that is for Adam. Will be able to try out the Twitch extension today?
Unfortunately not. So Twitch has a review system where we have to submit it, and it takes a while. So we're going to get it into a finished product first, and then send it to Twitch for review, and then you can test it that way. So unfortunately, it's not available for people to try at the moment, even though we would love that.
The way that we are showing this today is with an internal whitelist that we have that allow us the developers to participate. But right now it is not available for everyone. We still need that Twitch validates the feature, give us feedback, then we try it again. So yes, Sam mentioned is not available today. Adam, do you have anything else to add to the features that we were displaying?
Yep, so there is also a moderation tab as well. This feature is not 100% finished at the moment, but I can still display it for you. So we know it's important for streamers to be able to moderate their things. And also for things like modded servers and stuff, there's data that's not specifically coming from the server, the default server, but other mods. So what happens is if you click the cog, this will appear if you're a moderator or you have permissions from that and above. You can click this and it will come up with all the information that you have to approve. So I've disabled it here for now so you can see it, the information. But you would pop this open and it will give you the information you have to review. So if you're okay with this and there's no profanity or anything in it that you don't want to appear, you can approve or deny it and you just click that. And as I said, it's not going to work fully, but you click that and they disappear, and you can go through and approve all the stat names as well to make sure your community is safe from things you don't want to appear. So that's one step we've done to help secure and protect your channels.
Thank you, Adam. I'm going to go with a couple of questions that we have. One that we have here from YouTube chat that is for Jens. It's a bit ambiguous, the question, but yeah. Jens, Could I use Echo software to simulate the real world based on real data?
Environmentally, or let me find. Did you have the question?
Oh yeah, I just got it on the Discord channel. Is the last question.
Not really in sort of the complex regards that you might need, because we do have a full like atmospheric and pollution based system for calculating things like air pressure and sort of airflow and all that. But it's probably not detailed enough in regards to like water tables and kind of in-depth technical details for all the other aspects that might be required to have sort of a result you're looking for.
I see. Thank you, Jens, for the answer. There is another question. Will food ever be rebalanced? The comment that is with the question is that solo players are hurting.
That's a bit of an ambiguous question. In what regards would that be referred to? I kind of would like a more expanded question for that. Is that in regard to if like how you're not acquiring food because it's easier as a group to craft better food internally and they would just not sell you higher end goods, or kind of where the question is focused on, because
Yeah,
there's a lot of aspects to it.
yeah, I agree with Jens there. It's a bit ambiguous, the question, but and I can't find the person that asked that question on the YouTube channel, but in case that person is still with us, yeah, feel free to add the question to the survey. On the last part of the survey, you can ask questions and we can check with more time. And if you add your idea, we can try to answer you once we have more information. Because balance is really complex topic, as we have already mentioned. So we really need more information to find what you think may not have the correct balance there. Another questions that we have, this is for the related to the Twitch channel, so Twitch plugin, so maybe for Adam. Can this Twitch plugin also be integrated into other applications such as Discord?
So the way it works for Twitch, no. There is other possibilities of we could probably work stuff into Discord like that if we wanted to. We don't specifically know what we're going to do other than the Twitch plugin so far. But that could be a possibility, yes. But it would be probably text-based rather than the fancy panel that you see.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Yeah, I think that integrations are really nice. If you want to see more integrations like the one that we are doing with Twitch, I'm sorry, let us know. For example, Discord would be a interesting idea. Feel free to add that on the survey as well. So another questions that we have for Jens, food and housing bonuses have been a big problem for long-term servers without moods. After having all allowed professions as level 7, there is no reason to have food housing. Will the 10 version address this feature? Let me just paste that question in the Discord chat, Jens. It's the last question.
I think long-term wise, not necessarily, because we are looking at changing out some of the aspects of skill gains, and kind of want you to keep pushing your food requirements, but it's probably outside the scope of our update 10, as we're still a bit focused on civics, but also on general interactions and new vehicles. But it's definitely something that we are gonna address, and it's been sort of on the planning table and on the board to finalize in regards to what we wanted to do with it, because it is something that I think everyone has acknowledged and agreed that it is a problem that you kind of run into as soon as you pass a certain amount of time on the server, where you're either happy with your skill set, and you're kind of just pouring calories and labor into whatever you're working on for a pet project or a big build, or a big infrastructure project, and there's no real need to keep your food score up. There's a couple of servers that have done some creative things to get around that problem, to force you to eat better food, but it is something from vanilla standpoint that we want to change and improve on. Absolutely, but it requires a bigger solution than we can fit in 4.10, unfortunately, although we would like to address it.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, Adam and Jens. I know that we have a couple of questions left, but we are running out of time. So the idea is that if you have additional questions, or there are questions that we couldn't answer during the stream, feel free to add them to the survey and we will be checking on them. Thank you again, everyone, and see you later. Bye bye.